Hey everyone, this is Shinju. So I just want to make sure that you can hear us. Can you type something in the chat? Perfect.
Good.
Okay, great. So for this session, we have Rocketpool here, and they will be walking you guys through how to spin up a validator on the Ethereum 2.0 beacon chain. And I'll let them take it from here.
All right. Hey everyone. I'm Dave, the founder of Rocketpool, and also joining us today is Jake, our senior developer.
Hey guys.
Today we've got about 30 minutes to do a workshop on how to set up and run a validator in ETH2 using Rocketpool. But firstly, before we get started, a big thanks to Dystopia Labs for inviting us today, and also to everyone that's joining in and doing our workshop. Now, if you're not familiar with Rocketpool, I'll just give a really quick, non-pitchy kind of rundown of what we are. Rocketpool is a decentralized staking network for ETH2 that allows users to stake as little as 1 ETH and without the need to run a node. The network provides the staking for these deposits from independent node operators who are running ETH2 nodes as part of the Rocketpool network. These node operators could be staking as a service companies or just everyday users. The project itself, Rocketpool, has actually been around since late 2016, so we're a little old school in the Ethereum ecosystem. We originally had one version of Rocketpool that was set up for the previous version of ETH2, which was Casper as a smart contract, and we transitioned to the new beacon chain approach when it was announced just over a year and a half ago, I think now. But please, if you want to know more about Rocketpool, just go to rocketpool.net, and there's heaps of info there that you can learn about us. Today's workshop will be run by Jake, as I said earlier. He'll take you through the steps of setting up an ETH2 node as a node operator in the Rocketpool network. This workshop that we're doing today is based around a public beta that we had that concluded in November, so it's pretty recent actually. There's a link that Jake's put up in the top right corner there, which is a link to the workshop, so that will actually be a guide on how to set up these validators in Rocketpool, and we'll be leaving that up for a couple of weeks. So if you don't have the opportunity to follow this today or you run into any hiccups, use that link later on and you'll be able to set up a validator on our testnet over the next couple of weeks. We have a really handy guide that I just mentioned there, so yeah, please use that. It's very, very helpful. At the moment, for this workshop, you'll need to be running Ubuntu or a Mac to do this workshop and have a terminal screen open. This version of our workshop doesn't support Windows, so if you are a Windows user, you can actually do this if you set up an EC2 instance on Amazon or something like that as well, and to follow it. We'll be pausing briefly after each major step, so feel free to ask questions below when that happens. But for now, I'll just hand off to Jake to get the workshop underway.
Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. Yeah, I'm Jake. As Dave said, I'm a senior developer at Rocketpool. So just bear with me for 1 second, and I'm just going to share my terminal window because most of the action today will be happening in terminal. Okay, there we go. Hope everybody can see that okay. Shout out in the chat if you're not able to read this text at all, and I'll try and size the window down just to bump up the font size a bit. Yeah, so as Dave mentioned, rocketpool.net/workshop. Sorry, I'll just highlight that there. That's where we've got the guide for everything today set up. So you can read through that. If you miss any of what we're saying or you want to do it later on in your own time. Oh, yep, sorry, I'll just resize that down a bit. How's that looking? Is that a bit easier to read? Alrighty, no complaints so far. So, okay, cool. Okay, great. So yeah, just to recap the system requirements. So everything that we're doing today, if you want to follow along in the workshop, you'll need to be using Ubuntu 16.04 or higher, or you can be using a different Linux distro or Mac OS. But if you are, you'll just need to have Docker and Docker Compose already installed in your system. The reason behind that is just that the Rocketpool installed sort of shell script that we've got is designed for Ubuntu, so it uses the Ubuntu package manager to set up the OS dependencies. So obviously that's not going to work in other distros. But as long as you've got Docker and Docker Compose, any flavor of Unix, you should be able to follow along today. You also need about 1 gigabyte of hard drive space just for our software stack, and about 3 gigabytes of RAM free to play with. And you also need root access to your machine because we're going to be running a few commands as root today. Also, before we start, just a few caveats to run through. So at the moment, we're actually running on a private test network. So we're not running on one of the public Ethereum 1 test nets. We've just got our own one set up specifically for this workshop, which has the Rocketpool network contract support to it, as well as a dummy deployment of Uniswap and the Beacon Chain Validator registration contract. So for anybody who's not aware, the Validator registration contract sort of acts as the bridge from ETH1 to ETH2. So anybody wanting to become a validator on ETH2, they'll send a deposit to the contract on the ETH1 chain, and then the ETH2 clients, they will follow the event logs from that contract on the ETH1 chain, and that's how new validators are inducted into the system. So behind the scenes, Rocketpool will make deposits to that contract just like anybody else would to sign new validators up. Also, we're not currently using real Beacon Chain clients. We're just using a Beacon Chain simulator in the backend. So on the surface, Rocketpool will still work in exactly the same way. It's just that right now in the backend, it's not real ETH2 yet. We do have that in the works. So we'll have real Beacon Chain clients being added to the stack very soon. And we should also be running on a public Ethereum testnet, probably on Gurley, fairly soon as well. And one last thing, even though everything we're doing today is happening on the command line, there is a nice shiny GUI version of Rocketpool currently in the works. So in the near future, you should be able to do all this stuff using the UI instead, if that's sort of the way that you prefer to work.
Yeah, we'll actually have an update about that coming out this week with lots of pretty pictures and some videos as well for anyone interested.
Cool. All right, so let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to do is just make sure that we have curl installed, just because we'll need to use curl to run the Rocketpool install script. So I'm just going to run curl -- version, and you'll see a bunch of output like that showing you a curl version. If you don't get that sort of output, then you don't have curl installed. So if you're on Ubuntu, you can install it with sudo apt-get install curl. And if you're on Mac OS, you should have curl shipped with your system, but if for some reason you don't have it, as long as you're using Homebrew, you can just run brew install curl like that. So I'll just wait for a couple of seconds just to make sure that everybody can verify they've got curl installed. Yeah, just shout out in chat if you're having any trouble at all. Okay, sounds like everyone's good to go. All right, so if you head to that the workshop guide link, and then you scroll down to the installation section, you'll see just a one-line bash command. Oh, cool, that's Dave. Yeah, so there's a one-liner command that you can just copy and paste into your terminal window, which will actually run the Rocketpool software stack installer. So I'm just going to copy and paste that into my terminal now. So this is just, yeah, curling a script from a GitHub release, running it, and running it. So let's go ahead and hit the button on that. So there's a bit of introductory text at the top there about what's going to be installed. And it's just going to ask for my password because it'll need to run a few commands as root. So just chuck that in now. We're on pretty slow internet in Australia, so I'll just do everything at the speed it takes on my computer. And hopefully, if that's as long as it takes me, everybody else should be finished by then as well. So you can see we've just got a nice little, oops, sorry, the terminal window isn't scrolling. Yeah, so there's just a little progress bar showing you what the installer is currently doing there. But I'll just talk through it quickly. So we're installing the operating system dependencies, which is Docker and Docker Compose, because our whole stack runs in Docker images. It's going to download, yeah, we do. For anybody who doesn't know, Australian internet is some of the worst in the developed world. It's terrible. Yeah, we're going to download the Rocketpool Docker images. it's going to register an environment variable for RP path, which is just the path on the file system that we're going to store all the Rocketpool data. That's, stuff like the sort of internal database and the node account key and validator keys and that sort of thing. And then it'll do like a little bit of initial setup, storing some data in there. So yeah, sorry, just bear with me for 1 second while this completes. I think this step is relatively quick. Hopefully that shouldn't take too much longer. There we go. Okay, so you'll see, sorry, it's going to have to keep scrolling this window down. So you'll see once the installation is finished, it's just going to ask you a couple of questions about your initial setup. And, in the future, this will include, which Ethereum client, which Ethereum 1 client, which Ethereum 2 client you want to run. For now, we've only got one option for everything. So yeah, obviously we're going to pick Geth as our ETH1 node for now. And then we're going to pick the Beacon Chain Simulator for our ETH2 node for now. Okay, so that's finished with the installation. Because we've registered an environment variable with our shell, you'll just need to restart your shell session just to make sure that that's registered and your shell picks it up. So if everybody just closes their terminal window and then reopens it, it's the easiest way to do it. Or if you're SSH into a server, just exit that shell session and then log back into your server, and you should see it. So just to check that you've got that variable registered, we can just go echo and then $rp_path. And then you should just see like a path on the file system pop up there. If you don't see that, you don't have the variable. So just try restart your shell. Okay, I think that should be enough time for everybody to have it all installed. Okay, we've got a Windows user who's got it installed there. Docker does sometimes have some minor issues on Windows, so see how you go. You might bump into a couple of glitches, but if you're able to follow on in Windows, that's awesome. Okay, so now that we've got everything set up, we're going to start up the Rocketpool stack, and we can do that just with Rocketpool service start. And what this is doing is just spinning up all of our Docker images. So we've got Geth acting as the ETH1 node. We've got a reverse proxy just to do some internal routing. And then we've got all of the sort of Rocketpool specific containers starting up as well. Machine's being a little bit sluggish today. Okay, so we'll say done. Everything's all started up. And just to verify that everything's running correctly, we can go Rocketpool service logs. And there we go. My terminal window is being a bit funny. I'll just have to scroll down manually to show you guys. But this is just showing all of the logs coming from all of the different containers that make up the Rocketpool stack. So you'll see a whole lot of them coming from POW_1. That's just Geth there. So it's importing new blocks and syncing. And nothing is really going to work too well until Geth finishes syncing. So we'll just wait for it to do that. That'll be sort of the first thing to get it all going. Thankfully, because this is on our own private testnet, it's not going to take too long to sync. So it's not like, trying to sync early or something like that. While that's happening also, I'll just, sorry, this will also be tailing the log, and if you want to cancel that, just hit Control-C, and that'll take you back to your shell. Something else that we can do as well is we can look at the stats for all the running containers and just sort of have a look to make sure that they're doing everything they should be and sort of check up on their CPU and memory usage as well. So you can do that with Rocketpool service stats. My output's gone a bit weird. Yours won't look like this, but essentially what you'll get there is just a constantly updating screen looking something like that. So that'll show you every container that's currently running in Docker, or all the Rocketpool specific containers, sorry. And you can see the CPU usage and the memory usage of each of them as well. Again, you can hit Control-C to cancel that if you want to put out of that back to your shell. Okay, so I'm just going to check on my logs again and just see how Geth is going. So when you view the Rocketpool log, you can also go Rocketpool service logs and then type in the name of a specific container. So we'll go logs POW, and that'll just show us all the logs from the POW container, which in this case is Geth. And so yeah, we'll just check back up on that now and see how it's traveling. There we go. All right, so we're just getting one block at a time now, so it looks like that is fully synced and ready to go. Okay, so we've got the stack running, we've got the network synced and everything. So what we're going to do now is set up a node account. So yeah, the first thing we need is just like a regular ETH1 account to make deposits into the network. Oh, and we'll have to register with the network as well, obviously. So we'll go Rocketpool node init. And it's going to ask you for a password, so I'm just going to put in foo_as as a test one for now. And just note as well that this password isn't the actual passphrase used by Geth. We take this string that you enter in and then hash it just for a little extra security step. Sorry, just got a problem here in chat. Okay, so if you're having problems with your RP path environment variable, yeah, it'll just be because after you run that installation script, you'll just need to restart your terminal for your shell to actually pick that up. It may also depend what shell you're using. It should work for Z shell and bash and all the common ones. If you're using some weird shell, you might have some issues, but okay. If you are able to, I'm not sure, sorry, Zahidul, I'm not sure where your sort of bash profile or your shell profile file is, but if you know where it is, just see if you can find that file and just insert that environment variable. If you can't get it to work right now, Z shell, okay, that's interesting. I'm running Z shell as well, and this is working on that at the moment. Yeah, see if you can edit your shell profile yourself. If you're not able to, then just hit us up in Discord and we'll be more than happy to help you out later on, because this guide's going to stay online for like a good week or so. Alrighty, sorry, for now I'll just continue on. So yeah, we've just initialized our node account. So you'll see there, it'll print the address of your new account that you just created, and you just get a little message there about backing up all of your account files, your pstore and stuff. Okay, so next we're going to want to register with the Rocketpool network. But before we do that, we will need some testnet ETH, and we'll need some RPL, so we'll do that now. We've actually built in a command just to this version of the stack, just for the workshop, and you can use that to withdraw from the faucet. So we'll go Rocketpool, faucet, withdraw, and it'll let everybody have at maximum 20 ETH and 48 RPL. So we'll just max it out and go withdraw 20 ETH. And that's setting the transaction in the background, so it might just take a couple of seconds. There we go, 20 ETH withdrawn successfully. And we'll do the same thing for RPL as well. So let's go Rocketpool, faucet, withdraw, 48 RPL, and just take all the tokens we can get. Alrighty, so the faucet's said that it's paid out all the tokens, and we'll just double check that. So we can look at the node status at any time, and that'll give us a readout of the address of the node, the balances of all your tokens and stuff like that. Rika, the RP path environment variable should point to a folder. Sorry, yeah, I'll put it up in the terminal window here so everybody can see. So it'll be users. This is on Mac OS. I think on Linux it'll be home. So if Mac OS it'll be users and then your username and then .rocketpool. And then for Ubuntu, that should be something like home and then the username and .rocketpool. So yeah, if the install script hasn't set up your RP path environment variable, oh, and also that variable name needs to be all capitals as well. It's RP_path like that. So yeah, that's where it should be pointing to for macOS. That's where it should be pointing for Linux. Yeah, obviously every shell is different, so the install script isn't always 100% on getting that environment variable right. So yeah, it might just need a minor bit of tweaking for some of you guys. Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, we've drawn the tokens from the faucet, and now we can just double check to make sure those are actually there with Rocketpool node status. So that's going to query the current status of the node from the ETH1 chain. There you go. So there's our node account, and it's telling us that we've got a balance of 20 ETH and 48 RPL. So it looks like that faucet's worked, and we've loaded up with tokens. And now we can actually go ahead and register with Rocketpool. So let's go Rocketpool node register. And again, this will just send a transaction in the background too, so it might just take a second. Oh yeah, okay, so first things first, it's just going to want to detect our time zone, and it'll send this information to the Rocketpool contract. That information isn't used for any kind of tracking or anything like that. Basically what we do is whenever anybody registers with a node, they'll just send their time zone stamp with that, and then that's just public information to let users on the Rocketpool website know where all the nodes in the network are sitting, sort of thing. Just in case they're interested. You can abstain from this. Like it's totally fine to manually just put in like unknown/unknown if you don't want to tell anyone what your time zone is. But for now, we'll just say yes. Go ahead and detect that automatically, and there we go. It's figured out that I'm in Brisbane, so I'll just go yep. Let's register using that one. Alrighty, registered successfully with Rocketpool, and it's just telling us that we've got a new node deposit contract created here. So that's a new contract specifically for our node, which is where we'll be sending our deposits and stuff to create new mini pools in the Rocketpool network, and then users will get assigned to those. Okay, so as long as everybody has kept up for now, you should have your node registered. And we're ready to actually make a deposit and start participating. Okay, so to make a deposit, first of all, go Rocketpool, deposit, make. And then we actually have a few different deposit queues, and they all have a different sort of staking duration. So this is just something to line up users and node operators depending on how long they actually want to have their money locked up for. So right now we have a 3-month, a 6-month, and a 12-month queue. We don't want to have too many different options because then it's sort of harder to match people up, but that gives people enough different options to stake for the amount of time that they might want to. So for now, we'll just deposit into the 3-month queue. You guys can pick 6-month or 12-month at random, whichever choice you go. And the deposit is actually a multi-stage process. There'll be a couple of transactions made. So first of all, it's just going to check in with the node contract and make a deposit reservation. And the reservation will query from the Rocketpool network the current RPL ratio, which determines the amount of RPL that you as a node operator will need to deposit to create your mini pool. So RPL is only required for node operators. It's not for regular users. And the amount that's required does fluctuate depending on the network load. So basically, if there are already a lot of validators on the network and there aren't many users, then it'll cost you more RPL to join up. Basically to disincentivize more people joining the network when it doesn't need more capacity. But if there are a lot of users and not enough validators, then the RPL ratio will drop significantly, and that should incentivize new people to come on board when it's cheaper to do so. So now we've made that deposit reservation, it's telling us, so it always requires 16 ETH. For ETH2, for anyone who isn't aware, you need 32 ETH to create a validator. So with Rocketpool, we require 16 ETH from the node operator, and then that'll get matched with 16 ETH from users, just to ensure that the operator has as much skin in the game as the users and they're incentivized to behave properly. And then, yeah, so the dynamic RPL ratio, it's picked up at the moment based on current utilization, that for this deposit, we're going to need 7.81 RPL. So once you do a reservation page, you can just check over all that info and see if you're happy with it. And then you can go ahead and complete that or cancel it if you want to wait for a better ratio later on. But for now, for us, that's pretty good. 7.81 isn't bad. So we'll go ahead and complete that deposit. There we go. Okay, so it's telling us that the deposit went through and we've got a new mini pool created at this address. So we can actually check on the results of that by going Rocketpool, mini pool status. And this is going to give us a printout of all of the mini pools that have been created by our node so far. So at the moment, we'll just see one. Yo-Yo, so if you set this up last night and you didn't need any RPL, what happened there is you got very lucky and you got in at a time where there weren't any available validators. And so essentially what happens then is the network says, we have a lot of demand, we have a lot of users trying to stake, and there are no validators. So for a limited time, any validators can join for free. And that's just like a nice little incentive to keep the network sort of operational when it needs more people joining them. Okay, so with the mini pool status command, there's just like a little header at the top giving you a breakdown of mini pools in different staking queues. So we've got one 3-month mini pool, and it'll show you the status of all of them as well. So there's our mini pool we just created, and we can see that again here. Node has a total of 1 mini pool, and that's it. And the status for this mini pool is currently just saying initialized. So initialized means that that mini pool has been created, but there hasn't been any user deposits assigned to it yet. And we can verify that down here as well. There's 0 user deposits that have been assigned to it. And there's capacity still for 16 user deposits to be assigned. Okay, so what we'll do now is try and get everybody's mini pools that they've just created progressed into staking, so that they're actually running on, at the moment, our Beacon Chain simulator, but in future when that's swapped out for real Beacon Chain clients, they'll actually be staking on the ETH2 network. Bernardo, so this is currently, everything you've seen so far, this is all happening on ETH1. So Rocketpool kind of spans both chains. So we're about to get to the ETH2 part of it. Yeah. Okay, so let's just go. We've also got a command built in. So just to explain something about the Rocketpool network architecture, for each of these deposit queues, the user deposits made via the Rocketpool website, they'll get queued up in those 3-month, 6-month, and 12-month queues respectively. And then whenever transactions are made, like users making new deposits, it'll process the front of that queue and assign that to available mini pools, one chunk at a time. and it'll only get 8 ETH at a time assigned every time somebody sort of sends a transaction to the network. So we've got a little helper function built in just to process those deposit queues and start getting that ETH assigned to mini pools. Basically, like if you get impatient and you just want to see your mini pool full up. So these are publicly available methods which anybody is able to call. It'll just cost you a little bit of gas to process those deposit queues. So we'll go ahead and do that now. And if everybody who's following along, if you could all do this a couple of times as well, just to help move things along, that would be great. So we'll go Rocketpool, queue, process. So I'm going to do it twice, and yeah, if everybody else can do it twice. Since it's done in chunks of 8 ETH, if everybody who has made a mini pool does this twice, theoretically everyone's mini pool should get filled up and it should progress to staking. If you don't see your mini pool progress to staking, feel free to just, Rocketpool queue process, and you need to put in the ID, the duration ID for the queue that you're interested in. So we made our mini pool under the 3-month queue, so we'll process the 3-month queue and try and get user deposits assigned to us. Worth noting as well that the way deposits assigned to mini pools is pseudo-random. It's not first in best dressed, so anybody who's following along might start getting these user deposits assigned to theirs first. There we go. So let's do the process successfully, and we'll just do that a couple more times and just try and get all of these filled up. There is also, so before we started this workshop, all of these deposit queues were loaded up with about 1,600 ETH of user deposits in each one, so there's a big backlog of ETH waiting to go in there. So yeah, even though there isn't a public Rocketpool website at the moment that user deposits are coming in through, that's how this is all working right now. Okay, cool. No mini pools for 3 months. So everybody who's made a 3-month mini pool, it looks like yours all should have filled up. So I'm just going to go ahead and check my mini pool status again. Rocketpool mini pool status. And what we should see is that same mini pool there, the status should have updated to staking. There we go. So there's the same mini pool. And as you can see, we've gone from initialize to staking. Okay, so now onto the actual fun ETH2 sort of side of things. So yeah, first of all, we'll just take a look at the logs. So Rocketpool, in the software stack, there's one kind of main mini pool coordinator container, and that just sort of looks periodically at all of your mini pools and starts up any services locally that you might need for those. So we should have a new mini pool coming online now that this one's progressed to staking. So we'll just check that out. Rocketpool service logs, and mini pools is the name of that mini pool coordination container. Alrighty, so we'll see down the bottom here, we've got a few logs popping up saying that we're creating a new container for this mini pool that we've just made, and that's been created successfully, and then we're starting it up. So what's happened there is the mini pool coordinator image has seen that we've got a new mini pool which is staking, and it's starting up a container to sort of take care of those staking responsibilities for it. So yeah, I'll just hit Control-C to cancel that. And if you guys run the above command, you should see something similar there where you're getting a new container started up. Now for this next part, I'll just sort of use Docker directly, but if we go Docker ps-a, that will show us all of the currently running Docker images. And you can see here, we've got this container right up the top. It's only been running for 2 minutes. And this is using the mini pool image. So this is a container specifically for that last mini pool that we just created and which is staking. And I'm just going to copy the ID of that mini pool container there. And then I'll just go Docker logs -f to follow the logs, and then paste in the ID of that mini pool container. And then we can look at the logs for that. And what we'll see is that this mini-pool container is started up. It's connected to our beacon chain simulator. So this is like the actual ETH2 side of things. So currently this is all running using our own simulator, not a real beacon chain client. But in the very near future, this will actually plug into a proper like beacon chain validator client. But essentially what we're seeing is it's connected to our simulator. It's seen that the validator exists on the simulator and waiting for it to become active. So there is, when you become a validator on the ETH2 beacon chain, there's a slight delay. In reality, it might take a few hours before your validator actually becomes active. And it's just saying, okay, we see the validator is active, we're going to start doing our validation duties. So it's just listening for new epochs on the beacon chain, and it's sending through data whenever it's prompted to do so. And you also see, periodically, you'll get some logs showing up like this saying, checking if the mini-pool is ready for its role. That's nothing to do with the beacon chain, that's just Rocketpool specific sort of functionality. Basically, that's to do with the staking durations that you select when you actually stake your deposit in Rocketpool. So you'll say, I want to stake for 3 months. And then this container is just going to sit here and check to make sure, has it been 3 months yet? If it is, we should log out. And once it hits that point, the container will send a logout message to the beacon chain. And then once it sees that it has been successfully logged out, it'll just terminate itself. And that mini-pool's kind of finished its life cycle. Alrighty. So that kind of covers the entire process, really, of registering with Rocketpool, making a deposit, creating a mini-pool, getting user deposits assigned to it, and then staking. There is one other small thing that it looks like we've got plenty of time to go through, which is just setting up the node operator fee. So with Rocketpool, as a node operator, you don't actually get to set an individual fee that you charge to your users. There's one flat fee which is determined by the entire network, and every node operator earns that same fee. And we can see that in action if we go Rocketpool fee display. Oh, sorry, hang on, let me just, okay, so I'll backtrack for 1 second, just back to the commands for looking at the mini-pool container logs. So the first thing was to go Rocketpool service logs mini-pools. And that's just showing you that the container has been created. Once you've verified that, just go docker ps-a, and that shows you, sorry, I'll just highlight that command there. So that shows you all of the currently running containers in Docker. And this one, you're essentially just looking for one under the image column. It'll say Rocketpool / smartnode - mini-pool. That's the name of the container that we're interested in. And once you see that, just grab the container ID for that one, copy it, and then type in docker logs -f. F is follows, so that'll keep you constantly updated in real time with the logs, and then paste in the ID. And yeah, that shows you the logs for that specific individual mini-pool container. So this is it doing its validation duties on the beacon chain and checking for when it should log out. And whenever you're done, just hit Control-C, and that'll take you back to your terminal. Okay, so sorry, just getting back to the node fee. So yeah, we'll just check out the current node fee with Rocketpool fee display. Okay, so what this is telling us is that the current network fee paid to node operators is 5% of user rewards. So that's a network determined fee. It's the same for every node operator, just in the interest of fairness and making it easier for users to onboard. And it's also saying the target Rocketpool user fee to vote for is not set. So what we can actually do is we can set a fee, like a node fee percentage that we want to vote for. And then every 24 hours or so, when these nodes check in with the main Rocketpool contracts, they'll also send their vote for whether they want to shift the node fee up, down, or keep it the same. So you can set a target, and your node will automatically keep submitting votes to make it converge on what you want that actual number to be. So we can do something like Rocketpool fee set 10. We'll say 10 because we want the node fee to be 10%. We think that's a fair amount for the node operators to earn. But obviously, we don't want to set it too high, because if it goes too high, you're not going to have users staking on Rocketpool. There we go. So target fee set successfully, and we'll just go back to fee display just to check that all still checks out. Cool. Okay, so network fee is still 5%. Obviously, it takes quite a while for that fee to change. But if you all actually, set a fee manually and you check that, later on, you might see that move up and down, theoretically. I think that basically covers all the stuff that I wanted to run through today. So it should be it from me for now. Let's go to some questions. If anybody has anything else they want to know. Yes.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions, feel free to shout out. And I just posted our email addresses in the chat too. So if you do run into any issues later on, feel free to just send Jake and I an email anytime. We're always happy to field questions. So yeah, awesome job, Jake. Yeah, shoot us any questions anyone has.
And also, if you head to the Rocketpool website, there's a link somewhere on the page there to our Discord. And that's a good place to get help as well.
Yeah, we have quite an active Discord room, so that gets all news updates, and we field lots of questions in there, both technical and non-technical, a fair amount. So yeah, if you are kind of leaning towards Discord or you use it a lot, feel free to join our channel. We're always happy to have a chat in there.
Sweet. Cheers, yeah.
Thanks, Yo-Yo.
All right, guys, if you have any last second questions, please go ahead and drop it in the chat. Otherwise, we'll let the guys get going, David and Jake. So yeah, they're awesome.
Awesome.
So we're going to hang around for another 5 minutes for questions, and then I'll let them go. But thank you so much for the awesome session. It was really helpful.
Oh, thank you for inviting us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Yeah, always happy to have a chat. But yeah, like I said, if anyone has any issues later on, feel free to reach out to us via email or our Discord room. And also be sure to use the, actually we'll post the link to the workshop guide again in the chat now, because it's kind of scrolled off screen a bit.
Put it in my terminal window as well.
Yeah. I've also got a, let me see. So what you've all seen just there was the actual terminal version, but we are making a GUI for all this to make it a lot easier to use. And we had a beta back in October where people could actually go and stake testnet ETH that would get assigned to these node operators, and that was using a front end. We haven't shown any of that today, but I do have a video of it here for those who are curious what it looks like to actually stake ETH into Rocketpool and have it assigned to one of these node operators to do the staking for them. So I'll just link this video just down below. So this is an old kind of video from our beta, which started in, it ran for about 60 days and started in September and wound up, was September, October? Anyway, wound up in November. And that's basically what it looks like to stake through the front end, not as a node operator. We also do have, like I mentioned, a GUI client, which is in development for running being a node operator in our network. This should make it a lot easier for people basically to get started setting up validators without having to know how to use terminal. And I'll link it just below as well. So we have a little video of how it works. There's not much of it yet. We're actually putting out an update this week, which will show you how it'll work a bit better. But this is just a little demo video. I'll just see if I can find the link. There it is. Okay. Okay, and that's a video guide of the GUI, how it's kind of working. So yeah, if there's any questions, yeah, feel free to shout out. Otherwise, I think we'll probably sign off soon.
The other
Is there anything else you wanted to add, Jay?
Yeah, the other exciting thing on the horizon for us is just any day now, we're sort of getting the like real beacon chain clients integrated into our stack. So we're currently looking at Prism. I think you just heard from the Prismatic Labs guys before. Sort of getting Prism in our stack, and also Lighthouse, just looking at both of those. So yeah, those teams are all doing awesome work.
Yeah, both have active testnets too, which are up and running. So that's a huge thing for us to test with, basically. So
yeah, so we'll get it all happening on like a real public testnet that everybody can play with, and yeah, that should be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, I think that'll do us for us today. So yeah, feel free to join our Discord or email us and follow those guides if you get a chance. RPL is our token, which is required by node operators to make a deposit. It basically regulates the capacity of the network to make sure node operators are incentivized to join the network when it needs them the most. We have an FAQ, which is linked to on our website. This has a lot more information on RPL and its mechanism. We also have a lot more detailed information in our white paper on RPL, which is spelled out in fairly good layman terms for those interested, but does contain a lot more technical info than the FAQ does. So feel free to look at that too if you're curious.
Just to add to that as well, so with the actual smart node software, when you make a deposit into Rocketpool as a node operator, we've got Uniswap kind of integrated in the back end. So you can just go ahead and deposit ETH, and it will automatically trade ETH for RPL as required, sort of while it makes that deposit. So if you don't particularly want to worry about RPL, like the token itself, you shouldn't really have to. It should be taken care of.
Yeah, the process will be quite seamless, hopefully, for our next beta.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I'll let you get going. Our next session is with Polkadot. So they will walk you through how to run a validator on Polkadot. So hang around till 3 p.m. and yeah, it should be pretty good. And thank you guys again.
No worries at all.
Thank you everyone again for joining us today.
All right.
Thanks very much. See you guys.
Bye guys.